Well, good morning, everybody. It's 10 a.m. Welcome to the program. We're just going to admit everybody in from the waiting room. Everybody's coming in now. Welcome to the third in our Guru series today with Jeff Schlarb on the important subject of home staging. Before we continue, some of those obligatory statements that we always make. We try to keep everybody off the screen except the presenter and myself. So the only two people you should be seeing are Jeff and me. If for any reason your face appears on the screen, as attractive as it is, please hit the mute button so that there's just the two of us here. Zoom has this little glitchy thing that allows people to get in sometimes. There is a chat button at the bottom of your screen. If you've got a question that you'd like me to pose to Jeff as we're going through the conversation, I'll keep an eye on that. I'll be happy to throw those questions to him. And again, the question that we always get, this program is being recorded later on this afternoon or sometime tomorrow morning. We'll send you through Eventbrite the Zoom recording link. So if for any reason you've missed part of today's discussion, you'll be able to pick it up on our YouTube channel. So in today's program, we're going to converse with Jeff on the subject of home staging, its relevance and importance in today's highly competitive and erratic marketplace, where those good old multiple offers are no longer the norm and buyers are no longer engaging in that sort of wanton buying behavior that we saw during the COVID era. We're going to dissect the elements of professional staging, reveal the tricks of the trade that inspire buyer interest through staging, and also review those strategies that sort of balance the cost and commitment on one end, because somebody's got to pick up the tab, with effectiveness and results on the other side of the equation. Now, very briefly about Jeff and his companies. He has a mini empire here. So let's start with Green Couch, which was co-founded by Jeff. It's the premier luxury home staging and home improvement design firm in the San Francisco Bay Area, Los Angeles, and Southern California, known for its contemporary, classic, art-forward staging style. The company has a sterling reputation, particularly among top-producing realtors. On our list of leading 100 Bay Area top producers, I was surprised at the number of those that are using Green Couch. And it has a 21-year track record of staging large homes with design efficiency and professionalism. Now, on the other half of the Schlarb empire, we have the Jeff Schlarb Design Studio, which is an award-winning design firm founded by Jeff, who has been a leader in Bay Area design for over 20 years. The studio, with offices in San Francisco and New York, specializes in luxury, residential, and commercial products worldwide. His studio, which includes a talented team of 16, creates spaces that are bold and memorable and reflect the interests and lifestyle of the clients. Jeff, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you, my friend.
Alf, the pleasure's mine. As always, thank you and Debbie for hosting.
You're looking very stylish
striped
today, I might add.
Looking very stripy. Yep.
Those are my old school colors. Anyway, that's
it. Yeah, I'm going to school after this. This is what I'm going to do.
So listen, let's get the background out of the way, but just briefly. Obviously, we're not in the selling mode here, but just give me a brief overview of Green Couch so everybody knows. Everybody's got a common platform to work from. Just history, size, number of people, the stuff that'll tell us what Green Couch is.
Yeah, we're 21 years now. We started in 2002. We have 13 people at the staging at Green Couch. We have another 13 at the design studio. We have tons of subs that help out. We have a 32,000 square foot warehouse. So that's like about 7 basketball courts, NBA basketball courts, to kind of give it some scale. And then we do, I guess, our capacity is, we have 42 places staged right now, and we'll do up to 60. That kind of thing. Is that sort of what you're asking for, to give a?
Yeah. Let me just frame one question. What's the smallest job you'll take, and what's the largest job you'll take?
Well, we do improvements, and we do like furnishing projects at Green Couch. So I mean, it would take things to probably $6,000 to $8,000, or like little small things for our typical clients are always asking us to do something relevant quickly. We can do that. We've done like $500,000 projects where we did a full renovation, not even the bathrooms and kitchens, but we painted a whole estate and did all this landscaping and then furnished the whole place. So that's kind of the bookend, which is pretty wide.
And inventory, how often are you churning or turning inventory?
It's kind of a little bit seasonal, and then sometimes it's project based, or some projects will have specifics that they're asking for, so we'll go out and acquire that for them. But it's yearly, it's all ongoing. Things break. Furniture is really not made to move around in the back of a truck much, so we're always picking up new pieces.
But there's a constant rotation of inventory.
Part of doing business, and it's nice to get new things. Our designers, we all sort of tire of seeing the same thing, so it's nice and it's creative for us. On top of it's great to, of course, be relevant and fresh for our clients. So yeah.
I want to get it. I want to get into a philosophical question. The whole issue of staging. I've probably sold, I don't know, I was thinking the other day, I was doing a calculation, I've transacted probably about 15 home sales in my career. And I always say, well, we've got to make sure when we're selling that staging is, but when it comes time to stage, I find I get the pucker factor and I don't want to spend the money. Why is staging so important? And let's put the sell aside. Just in terms of basic core economics and capitalism, getting the best price, why is staging so damn important? What have you learned about that?
Probably everybody has this data too that's listening. So this might be new or mind-blowing, but typically what the realtors say, or like Wall Street Journal or the New York Times, when they quote what staging does to net commercial results, is 10% over the projects that weren't staged. And then I think another relevant, maybe you're going here anyway, but what's in a market like this where it's a little bit tricky, maybe it's not 10%, but you're actually just transacting. And when we're talking to clients, they've probably already made up the decision that this is going to be a good decision for them to put their very best foot forward. I mean, there's lots and lots of things that need to go right for transacting these days. I'm kind of intimately involved with a few myself, and staging is just one of them, but there's so many things that need to be going the right direction. So it's
but a realtor's got a seller in the room, and the realtor is saying to the seller, you got to stage this property. It's going to cost you, I'm picking a number, $20,000. Mm-hmm. And you can see the seller visibly, blanch. Mm-hmm. What's the sell?
Well, I guess our approach personally is like, maybe this isn't answering your question exactly, but I never try to push anybody into doing that. I'm not, we don't have that kind of mentality. We're there to serve. The facts are, if you're going to, sell your old Jaguar, you get a classic car, you're probably going to have a detail to make it look its very best to get the best price. And that's what staging is doing too. We're creating, and I'm sure you guys maybe on this call on the Zoom use this too, but we're selling an aspirational lifestyle. We're selling, we're just selling the very best look and feel we can. And yeah, in the San Francisco market is of course so common. So people bought houses staged, they've already sold the house staged perhaps. But yeah, the puckering is real. The puckering is real.
Do you have data, verifiable data, that shows that a house that's staged properly will sell faster and for a higher price? By the way, I saw data from, I think it was Coldwell Banker Realty way back, decades ago, that somebody at CBR had done that analysis, and I can't find the data. But do you have anything more recent to that point?
I don't. That's would anybody text or email me that? That'd be great to have, please. No, of course it's challenging, but I just sort of quote and have seen many articles over the years in New York Times and, like I said, Wall Street Journal. But of course, it's hard to put the same house on the market twice, presented two different ways. So I always have told the sellers at times when they're like, well, why should I stage? I talk to them about the marketplace, literally the marketplace for what we do as a stager. Like if people are always wanting to stage and realtors are always behind it as a great idea, the marketplace says it's effective because people aren't just throwing away their resources, they're getting a net result. And then sometimes it's just they're simply selling or transacting. And that's a win as well.
Do you oh yes, give me a sort of give me an overview. I know you're not trying to sell anything today, and we don't like that, but give me a sort of an overview of the cost structure on staging. How long do you stage for? What is the average staging cost? What does it cover? Give us the nitty-gritty on this.
Yeah, our peers and what the marketplace is for staging right now is about we do 75 days. It's traditionally been 60 days. And then we're installing the furniture. It lasts 75 days, and then there's monthly renewals there afterwards. The costs associated with it, the average cost for us is usually around 20,000, but we do, big houses, that's kind of putting for all front doors at it. Like that could be a 1-bedroom and that could be a 7-bedroom. We just count front doors, and that's the average. This last month was actually 22,000.
And how many rooms is that?
That would be five bedrooms, something like that. But we do bigger houses as well. Let's see. So yeah, the costs associated with it. I mean, in San Francisco, there's big stairs. You've got to use an elevator for a condo. Sometimes we have to work at night at some of the condo inside the markets, or it's just a massive house. Its size.
So how does it work? The realtor or the seller calls you up and says, we want a stage. Who is responsible for the design factor of the stage? Does that come from you, or does that come from the seller saying, I want this look?
Mostly it's collaborative. At the end of the day, I can talk about the style of how we sort of approach it. Maybe that's sort of fun. But what we're really looking for is, of course, just something that's more like leading edge in design, and something that's like going forward, so it feels relevant, like something you would see in magazines. But we're not trying to do bleeding edge design, and we use our design studio to kind of inform us of what's kind of happening or what's trending, but we're never trying to be too forward. But there's this term I learned recently called psychographics. From a realtor who told me about this. It's like an old marketing term, this. So that's kind of like micro markets is another way to say it, right? And so whether San Francisco itself has different looks and feels. When we're on the north side of town versus Noe Valley, there's a different approach. Maybe more colorful and collected, and a little more maybe even layered and patterned when we go as Noe Valley, but we keep it more contemporary classic when we're on the north side. Having said all that, what we do, what all the project managers are compelled to do is, learn about each agent's preferences and each seller's realistic expectations. We're just trying to be a part of a team. And some of the best projects and the best relationships we have with realtors, or is that when we get into a groove and we kind of understand each other's needs, and they understand, like, we want to be able to be effective and have clear communication, and they give it to us, and then they get their expectations met. And so that's a long way of saying that it's different with every project, but we're collaborating in some way always.
So traditionally, the realtor is coming to you and saying, we need to stage this house, this home. You in turn then come back. I mean, if I believe what I see on these real estate programs, the stager comes in and suggests the following layout. We want to put this here, move that, get rid of this, declutter, etc. Is that essentially how it works?
The floor plans, there's not many floor plans that challenge many people. Like again, I'm sure everybody here on this call has seen so many houses that you understand the right way to stage a home, like where the stuff should go, what the floor plan should be. Some of the media rooms, some of the outer buildings, or some of the bigger properties have a bigger question mark. Well, we cover that in the walkthrough. Yes, I mean we're kind of describing this is our formal living room, or maybe we want to make a dining room into something more like a family room. So we'll cover that and take all the notes off, and then reiterate that on the proposal, and then we're kind of off and running. I mean, this kind of like is speaking to. I'm not sure how much talking about staging you do, but like what we're trying to do is mimic what and several $100,000 worth of design services and 6 months of design decisions. We're trying our hardest to mimic that in a 3-day period.
But though, to that point, how often do you repaint something, recarpet something, knock down a wall as part of staging? It doesn't go that far, does it? It's traditionally just move the furniture and the accessories.
Oh no, we do a robust amount of improvements. I mean, everybody on that call would agree that painting is probably the best ROI on home improvements.
So are you repainting?
Oh yeah, we get painting bids. We do hardwood floors. We do countertops, new sinks. Like light stuff. We don't knock down many walls, though I'm sure it has happened over the years, but not without an engineer.
Okay, but it does go that deep. But my impression of staging always was just change the furniture out and go and declutter and get rid of the books on the bookshelf.
There's more needs. When you're selling a $2, $4, $6, $10, $15 million house, it needs to look the part. Back to my Jaguar example, you wanted to look at it. So landscaping. I mean, imagine you're in San Francisco. You've got this great south-facing garden. They moved out. The sellers moved out. They moved on to the new house, but their dog did a number on the backyard. We've got to resod it. We've got to bring it back to what the dream is. So those are the houses. Everyone knows transact so easily when they're ready to roll. But is that
Jeff, who traditionally picks up the cost on staging? Is it 100% the client? Or does the realtor pick up part of that if the realtor is making a huge commission?
Sometimes, we don't. I don't see that a ton, but once in a while.
So normally it's the client who's picking it up.
Yes.
The seller.
Over the years, I've seen people use some of their marketing budget. Maybe it's premier listing. They want to kind of use it for a way for further future marketing
to showcase.
It's an exception of the rule. It's really the seller.
I want you to talk about your competition for a moment. I know you will talk favorably. There are a number of staging companies out there. I'm aware of a number of them. It's funny, since we put this announcement out about this meeting today, all of a sudden I've had staging companies, emailing us. If you're a client, if you're a seller or a realtor, how do you make a selection of a staging company and be agnostic? What are we looking for in a stager?
Inventory, that they're able to do what they say. An inventory that you believe them to have a robust inventory, and so at the end of the selling time, that you're still going to get quality furniture. Some of the newer staging companies won't have as deep of a bench as some of the ones that have been around longer, or have a deeper size. So you look for that. I think you would look for professionalism and what their capacity is to remove properties even when if it was a quick close. So I think, you know, you're looking for somebody who can like meet your deadline, meet your photograph dates. You can have confidence that they will do what they say they're going to do, and that they will have the capacity to undo it all when the whole goal is met in a timely manner, if it need be. We're often kind of like scrambling to, or we often have to like get an extra crew, or you just have to make it happen for quick closes and such.
So inventory, very important. The ability to act responsibly from a service perspective. Mm-hmm. Obviously, a certain degree of trust and reputation. Anything else above and beyond that?
Oh, you like their designs, you know.
And you like their work. Is it wrong to say I want to walk your warehouse to see what you've got?
I wish I could turn this around. You could see everything. You would see everything wrapped. The designers. So this is a game of speed. So we are taking projects out. They get wrapped carefully so that they travel safely, like a sofa, for instance, and they come back into the studio, into our warehouse. It stays wrapped because we got to just move it back out again. And so the whole game is just to be as efficient as possible, so you wouldn't see much. And also, we're not trying to be it's not trying to be interior design. We're trying to be still trying to do staging, which is to keep the budget reasonable. It's got to go quickly. So that's, yeah.
What's magic about the 75 days? You said at the start that 75, you've extended now to a 75-day staging window in your cost structure. What's magical about that 75 days?
Well, it is nice to have a little extra time. And quite honestly, everybody on this call, you probably understand it too. It's just gotten a little bit more competitive, and the houses haven't been selling quite as fast. So we decided to pitch in and be part of the team. We went from 60 to 75 to also be more competitive with some of our peers too. I mean, that's fair to say, to be fair.
You've had experience at this. And I understand that we're talking about a multiplicity of homes and sizes and price points in the Bay Area. But I believe in the threshold factor. You walk over the threshold and you get the vibe, you get the gestalt of the environment. Is there a sort of a common feeling you get when you walk into homes that need to be staged? Is there a common anomaly that you see, or a common feeling you get that you say to yourself, oh?
Well, it's so, I mean, as you're saying, when you walk into a home that feels like it needs to be staged, or needs to be staged better, or, you know.
Both.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know what the percentage is, but not everybody lives in an interior design home. We all know that. Like, you go in and, you know, there's not fully furnished, or they've got young kids, or whatever it may be. So really, there's not many homes that don't need to be staged a little. You know, it might be some really wacky artwork, or it might be there's no plants, or perhaps they decide not to have a rug because they have an old or a young puppy, or, you know, something like that. There's always some tune-up that's just going to make it photograph better and show better. When preparing for this, I was also just going through this mental note that, you know, the photographs, of course, that's the first showing. Everybody would agree here that alpha, but when you have a really nicely staged home and you got a really great photograph, that's the first time people interacting with the property. And then if they don't have a good interaction with that, very unlikely they're going to go see the house. You know,
quick digression. Mm-hmm. In your partnership or your association, just for the realtors, right? Mm-hmm. What is a good realtor relationship? A good instance, or an instance where you've had a good experience with a realtor, and we're talking staging here, and an example of where you've had a bad experience with a realtor. No names, of course.
Such a loaded question. I feel like I don't. Let's see. That's such a good question, though. As I mentioned earlier, like when it's a collaborative team atmosphere, that's what works the best.
What does collaborative mean? What does collaborative mean?
It means that, here's a good example. When I'm working with a design team, and we're doing some designs. When I get sort of presented to edit down and get things going, if I'm 50-50 on something, I usually let the person, my designer, sort of share with me why they think that's great. And I'll just go with them if I'm 50-50. If I'm 40-60, it needs to change. And so the spirit of like, hey, we've all got to make this work. You know what my expectation. I mean, it may not be my favorite stuff I've ever seen in the world, but I'm 50-50 on it, or I'm whatever my percentage is of comfort. Let's just move and get this thing photographed and sold. And so this collaborative spirit, like everybody's kind of got to win. The relationships that don't work are when it's almost adversarial. You know, it happens very few times, but yeah, I've done this for a long time, and sometimes maybe it's more like more often maybe the seller, they've got a dream of how they really like it to be, but they've never communicated that much with the design team, and that becomes like I said, adversarial, and it's very, very infrequent, but that's the best answer I can get. How does that sound?
It's good. You've just staged a home, it's gone in. What percent of the staging situations result in the buyer deciding to keep what you've staged versus the stuff gets pulled out and goes back to the warehouse?
I have done this for so long. It's always been so curious why people don't keep the furniture if they love the house, and they often say they love the staging.
So why don't they keep it?
5% of people do. And I've also been the designer who got hired after we were the staging company. And I have to say, like, sometimes I wish maybe we would have sold them a few pieces. And then it's just an expedience thing. Because really what the best solution for people is to get a really great design direction for themselves. Like, what's going to give them the most power, the most pleasure, the most energy from the home that they've just purchased. Kind of slow it down a little bit, and they're going to be there for years, and get a great design direction, and then use that to inform the furniture selections and the color and the pattern and the vibe, versus the expedient route of just buying all the furniture.
But in the majority,
and also,
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say it's fun, Alf. It's fun to design a house, and that's why they bought a new house. It's like it's cool to work on, and people enjoy the process, and I think that's also why it doesn't happen.
So generally speaking, the staging is the eye candy. It's the neon light to get them in.
Yeah,
to buy the house.
Yeah, great staging explains scale. Of course, everybody, there used to be this dialogue that I would hear like years ago. I don't know if this rings a bell for anybody, but put a small sofa in the room and it makes the room look big. And it couldn't be further from the truth. In my judgment, is like the right scale sofa makes the room look appropriate and professional and feel right. It has this, this balance to it. I thought that was fine.
Jeff, if I'm staging with Green Couch, let's be realistic. I'm not going to get you coming out on every call to assess the project and set the price. You're going to have a project manager come out. How do I know I've got the right? Because by the way, it's all the set of eyeballs. It all comes down to the set of eyeballs that's looking at the project. How do I know I've got the right set of eyeballs? What questions do I put to the project manager to make sure that she knows what she is doing?
Yeah. Well, it's a body of work, right? And so if you look at this, our studio or anybody else's, you're kind of like looking at their Instagram or looking at their website. It's a body of work. It's the same team that delivers the projects. I go out and spot check projects, but I haven't really done the installations start to finish for, I'd say, for 10 years. That's just not the way it works for typical principals of firms like ours. The way I do help curate what our look is through the years, and what I've always worked on hard, is being really responsible for the new purchases and the new furniture pieces that we invest in for inventory. And that's how I can make sure and curate what is available and what gets utilized. But it's a team, and we're all in a groove. And we have been doing this groove for a long time together.
I know you answered this or you addressed this before, but I want to come back and ask this one more time. By the way, I got a question here. Problems with the sellers, not the realtors. Yes, good. There was a comment there. The problems are almost always with the seller and not the realtors. But my question is this: is really a question of universal style. Do you find that staging, you walk into a home and you say, all right, this needs the heritage package. Sally, make sure this one gets the Acme package, or this one gets the 5B and the 2A, or is there a unique staging result or recommendation for each style? Or do you find that there's a vanilla approach to staging? Because just to expand on that, all these new high-rise units I go into now, the developers are building, are all so damn vanilla. Because they expect the buyer to project what they want onto vanilla walls.
Okay, so if nobody gave us any feedback, listen, every agent is the marketing director of this enterprise of selling a home. They are the art director, if they so choose. And sometimes people love color and they would like a more collected look that fits their brand. That's how they market their properties and then the way they do business, the way they market themselves. So that's something we talk about on the front end. Do you have an expectation, what is it you would like to see? And it's usually with the realtor, because like I said, they're the art director of what's about to go down. They're choosing the photos, they're doing the print pieces, everything. If nobody asked us, if nobody gave us any input, I think what helps is to have enough detail, a contemporary classic look, and have some interesting pieces that are just everything's not just balanced in like a magazine or a Restoration Hardware magazine or advertisement. There's just got a little collected look. That's kind of how people live, but this is a tuned up version of it. And I wouldn't, we still keep things pretty neutral. And this is so funny. Oh my God. I hear this from new design clients all the time. They say, "Well, see, to keep it neutral with pops of color and art and accessories." That's literally a great strategy to not overwhelm people. When many agents subscribe to this, and I don't know how many people would agree. I'd love to see some comments. But when the staging is just so powerful, we're really trying to let people buy the whole house. And yes, staging is there to elevate it, but often we hear from realtors through the 21 years of doing this, that we don't want it to be just so much.
Don't overwhelm.
As a one. But that's not it. I mean, there's some stagers who do very dark everything. And everything is just, it is really all the design. That's how some realtors and some stagers do it. I guess, but if no one asked us and no one gave us direction, that's how I would approach it, to still have it be detailed, have it feel collective, have it feel bespoke, without being overwhelmed, and sort of being more in this contemporary classic realm.
Jeff, I want to go through the house room by room, if you may. I would just want to be a little bit granular here. Just some general reactions. Let's start with bedrooms. what do you find you do most? Now we're talking again from the viewpoint of staging. You know, your mindset as a designer and stager. When you get into the bedrooms, what do you find you normally do there?
Just
If
about.
anything.
I mean, just are they kids' rooms? Are they do we need to make a really like lush guest suite on the bottom floor, or is it out in the pool house? They all have a purpose.
Let's start with the master bedroom.
No, sure. Well, what sells the house, right? Like I call them the principal rooms. That's where all your guests would come. Your formal living room, formal dining room, kitchen, family room, and primary bedroom, right? So primary bedroom is there to be like the sanctuary. It's there to be, of course, it needs to feel extremely comfortable. And when space allows, you put a seating arrangement in there. You can imagine making it something of a hideaway for the single or couple. How's that for an answer?
That's a good answer. What, by the way, do you ever stage garages?
And
let me tell you why I asked this question. I always say to Debbie, I have the responsibility for the garage because I'm AC. To me, the garage has got to be spotless, and it's got to be in a row, and it's got to be perfect. And I maintain that there are guys like me who are more wowed by the garage than they are by the kitchen. But anyway, I digress.
It's probably an outlier, and so there literally is sort of a budget on what we can do. I mean, sometimes it'd be a line item. We've done them when we need a playroom, and we kind of made it to put like faux grass out there, and we make it into like an art studio and really sell it as an additional place for kids. It's a family neighborhood, and we didn't really have that kind of space yet in the home. Not the tools.
Take me into the kitchen. What are the basic staging elements in the kitchen?
Just enough to make it look like a photography from California Home and Design. It's got to have a few accessories and a couple of books. We're not trying to overwhelm it. Oh, I remember back in the day, we do actually back in the day. We do like lemons or like fresh fruit. Of course, we have to be there like 5 days later to take it away. That was when we did one a month.
So those days are gone, and the kitchen now is less is more.
Well, yeah, usually there's a great asset such as like beautiful marble. We all love that, but yeah, we're not talking about too much. Enough to make it look like a great design magazine photograph, like Architectural Digest or whatever it may be. It's gonna have that. Usually it's a little plants or like little ferns. We've been hot on that lately. Cool ferns and stuff.
Will you repaint a kitchen? Have you repainted a kitchen?
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah, I mean, repaint it because it's damaged. Repaint it because it's cherry colored. It's got maybe great profiles, but we get a great paint job, we can make them. Sometimes we do navy or dark green, or of course we do whites. We're kind of getting back to white, but as an example, something we learned from editors and magazines, like they weren't taking any white kitchens for a couple of years because like everybody did a white kitchen with white marble. So in the design world and editorial world, they just weren't taking them. So for a while, we're doing more like this really muted light grays. I know it's not mind blowing, but just like to be not like a light warm gray kitchens, and that was kind of a way to connect with the marble typically that was there, but not to be so predictable.
Because Jeff, when I say the word declutter to you within the context of staging, declutter, what does that mean to you?
That's really kind of that's like a partial staging project where you're taking the cellars, things away and moving it out to make it like nice and neat and clean.
But I mean, if the first thing realtors will say to sellers is you've got to declutter.
Yeah.
So if you were walking into a room, what are you generally decluttering? What are you taking out through your eyes?
Overstuffed armchairs, piles of recyclable bags in the corner, kids' toys stacked to the ceiling over by the television. Yeah, the whole perimeter. I have this amazing way to stack papers on my desk because I'm a great deal of it. I'm a great stacker. I would take my desk away, Alf. You know, all the things like that. It's just got to be clean and neat. Really dream world. Can we talk about something that's I would be curious of what some of the realtors on this line would think to this, but some of the other things, like even really getting everybody's out of the house, not just their furniture, but whether we do partial staging projects. But what I've seen in this marketplace right now is that people are so finicky that they really don't want to see somebody else's life. They really just want to imagine their own.
Right.
So if there's of course a pet there, like oof. If there's a clothes in the closet, they don't really want to maybe see that. They just want to see themselves because they're almost looking for any reason to not pay 7%. And so it's not just the staging and it's kind of getting an asset ready to sell.
It's eradicating the previous owner's presence, right?
Yeah.
In that home. I want to go through more rooms. We haven't stopped yet.
Okay.
Living spaces, living room, the TV room. I call it the rumpus room, the family room. What are we looking for there when we stage?
Yeah. Well, let's call it like a formal living room. And then there's a family room. So we're just trying to differentiate those two to make one of them casual. Sometimes we'll go, we'll say it just has one family room. And then there's a discussion. This is kind of fun over the years. People would ask, how about a great sectional here? If it fits, that makes sense. As long as it can still look tidy. Because I think, I'd rather just up brand a little bit and making sure you have like a formal quality, at least in the floor plan. It doesn't have to be, it can still be casual furnishings, but a formal floor plan if there's only one room or one living space.
In terms of furniture and accessories, put those two together. What do you find you bring in most when you stage? What are the common items in furniture and accessories?
Oh, this is great. I mean, we call it like the 7th layer or something. Like the project isn't nailed until the final accessory layer, which if it's a 3-day project comes in maybe even the last like 3 hours or 5 hours or something like that. And it's like block and tackle when you're like, when we're bringing in furniture. But then once accessories, flowers, plants, the coffee table books also have like this cool coral thing on top of it, or like a little chain or something, all just like layered in so beautifully. Of course, a nice couple of throws, maybe nice and tidy, kind of tucked in. All that last layer is the business end of what staging does, in my judgment. That's what makes it feel home, right? And so what are those typical items? I guess I just described some of them. It's just like a medley of accessories. It's wine glasses up in the shelves, with those glass shelves. We do, I remember when one of our designers started, he came from another firm, and I was so happy at how much we got even better. I mean, that's fun to see when we get better. That's the whole aim. But I just started seeing our bookshelf game go a little bit higher. If you ever go into stage homes and there's still bookshelves. Bookshelves are kind of not around as much as they used to be, but you really got to get enough books, enough accessories to make it look realistic and great for photographs and doesn't look vacant. But that's a big effort.
I've got a question here.
Yeah.
I've got a question here that says, bear with me. It says, how will you approach a project where the property is well maintained, but not necessarily updated, limited budget, and the seller is just open to the minimum, cleaning and painting? What will you minimally recommend as a punch list?
Well, so you said that we're well maintained. I mean, I think
Yeah.
I think it's important to go around and just make sure like all the little things are nice and tidy.
What little things?
Oh, it's drawers or drawers and doors or in the kitchen are closing properly. The ones that are handled the most. Limited budget, clean the whole house, all the windows. If you can paint, great. If you don't have to do the ceilings, or maybe you can leave the trim, just do the walls. That's a great way to be effective. Maybe just spot painting on the trim. And then it depends on the marketplace. Like the East Bay has a different marketplace than Marin and the peninsula, and of course the city. If it's typical to stage the whole home in the marketplace we're like presenting, I think it continues the magic all the way to the last room. But if you're in a marketplace that's not always the norm,
right?
I think that's another way to edit budget is to skip, maybe the ancillary bedrooms, get the primary.
So what would be the top 3 areas or rooms if you had a limited budget? What would be number 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah,
on average.
I call them the principal rooms. I was like, anybody, when you host, that people will come see these rooms. Your great room, your family room, right? Your primary, not your primary, sorry, but the formal living room, formal dining room, any media room, because your guests might come over, your kids might come and watch movies with you, and then your primary bedroom.
Gotcha.
If I had to pick another one next, I would say probably a guest suite. So you can imagine your in-laws coming.
All right. I'm at the 15-minute mark, and I've got questions. I've got a question here. Do you ever give a discount if the house sells in a week or two? Understanding that you have installation and deinstallation costs. But the question really is there,
No,
do you get a rebate?
No, it's a good question. I've heard it, lots, but that just means everybody's doing their job. I don't mean to be cheeky, but they're like everybody's winning. The seller has the money quicker, or like the sales gone successfully. The realtor doesn't have to host any more open house or do any more tours, and they're being fully realized.
Right. So no discounts, no rebates.
That just means we showed up and
did, you did your job. And you did your job well.
We can do about one project a day we're working on somewhere.
I got you. I want to go back to the house again from the staging eyeballs. Are there any particular colors right now that tend to be better for staging? I hate to say what's in and what's not, but certainly if you're repainting, is there a color that do you try to be neutral? Is there a color that's hot right now? Anything there?
Yeah, that's we have some guys we kind of delivered over from the design studio. We're still using the Balboa mist and the Seattle mist still. We're still on White Dove when we're doing ceilings and trims. I use Hale Navy for my best navy ever. I think it's so handsome. And then Martha's Vineyard, these are all Benjamin Moore, by the way. Martha's Vineyard is a great green that I think is lively but not fluorescent.
I got you. All right. Lighting's easy to stage because you can bring in lamps and you can change bulbs. So what are the trends there from a stage's point of view when you stage? What are you doing with lighting?
Well, I think lamps and a nice beautiful shade. is like, okay, it just creates this glow that makes for a warm experience. I mean, you've got overhead lights, you've got the recessed lights. That's all kind of like coming in one direction. So when you get these like nice glowing lamps, I think that that's something that just adds to the livelihood of a place that really is vacant. Really, there's no perhaps life there, but that's what we built with plants and these lamps, etc.
What about fabrics? Doing anything with fabrics? Obviously, throws and etc. But pillowcases and anything in the way of fabrics?
Yeah, we have pattern pillows for days. Probably definitely the days of like geometric patterns, or like, now we're doing something more traditional patterns and playful patterns and some structure, kind of putting them all together. As I look here, I've got two plaids in the back.
Yeah,
plaid.
Yeah. I want to the final issue inside the house was just carpets and flooring in general, because it strikes me that that's an easy thing to fix. If you've got a bad looking floor, you can bring in some carpets and just totally rejigger that. Any comments on that, on the whole issue of flooring, again from the staging viewpoint?
If I looked at it under the from one of the other questions that came in, if there's like a limited budget, probably pound for pound, it's easier to go back to carpet. The carpet's distressed, we can't be cleaning it. Maybe it's mismatched because over the years some sellers done like something different in one room and then the hallway's different. So it's probably pound for pound the easiest thing if you're trying to do that, or dollar for dollar, I should say. I like this bronze colored carpet. We specify a lot. Susie, who's amazing, I hope she's on here. Susie Grenett, she's the best PM ever, and so is Jenny Bittner. I don't know if she's on here too, but it kind of depending on what the color of the hardwoods are, maybe you're in the formal living room or the kitchen and everything, and if you're doing ancillary bedrooms, kind of picking the same color or tone to match it, then it kind of has this perception of the floor is going to keep going on, so the whole house flows a bit better than having like a white carpet, or of course a really dark carpet or charcoal carpet. We're going to match the hardwood floors if there already are. But having said that, pound for pound, dollar for dollar, best utility is just recarpeting. If there's hardwood floors under there, you've now upgraded the space. So it costs more to redo the hardwood floors. Now you have a bigger selling asset, or more asset to sell. That is a question we go through every time for the home improvements. We're really just trying to dissect. I mean, we know we can do everything. For design class, we do like anything in one. But really, that's what comes with experience. And I think that's another thing that you're everyone on here with, you're interviewing different staging companies. Like, what's the experience you have in making lots of decisions? What home improvements will give really the ROI you want, or the best ROI? Picking out the
Jeff, final questions here. We're in wrap-up mode. I don't mean to be indelicate, but homes have I hate to use the word of aroma, but they do. Homes have the aroma of the people who have lived there. It's not an overt thing. It's a thing, right? It comes from the carpets, the flooring, the whatever, the food that's been cooked over the decades. How do you deal with those issues? Do you spray potpourri everywhere? From a staging perspective?
Yeah, well, okay. Most of the project we work on is solves, right? We're painting, perhaps. All that aroma is on furniture, walls, everything. The furniture's out, our furniture's in. It does not have the same influence that the other homes or the other furniture wouldn't have. I mean, we have the candles and we have like a few sticks and things. That's also depending on somebody's allergies, or we try not to over aromatize, if that's a word. And that's usually something the agent does to make it a little more specific to how they like to market it. Yeah.
All right.
We're solving it.
Final two questions, both philosophical. One philosophical, one granular.
I love it. Yeah.
You're a designer. that's where that's where you get your jollies as being a great designer. What have you learned as a designer that you've taken into staging, and vice versa? What has staging taught you that you've taken into your role as a designer?
The staging, okay, it's like I've done I've probably been, yeah, at least like 4,000 installations.
You're kidding me.
I mean, like, okay, how does that work out? Do I do the math right? Like, we'll do around 200 or so, because we do model moves and all these different things. So
Good
200
Lord.
times 10
20.
for 10 years, about 200 a year. That's 2,000.
2,000
for 20 years. So that's 4,000.
It's 4,000.
Yeah. So, I haven't been on the.
So what have you learned? What the hell have you learned from
the
that?
way to assess a room like that, like this is how the layout should be. There's like, I can think of now as a designer, I can think of like 3 or 4 new ideas, because there's like the traditional way that's great for presenting from the marketplace. And then now I'm able to kind of like look at 3 or 4 other creative ways. And then that's both back helpful for the staging work. Because I'm not I have no longer put myself in one sort of eye to present each room. So
All right. So of those of the aggregate knowledge and wisdom that you have gained out of those 4,000 installations, right? Bring that down now to a kernel or a core. What basic pieces of advice would you give to a realtor on the call today about how to stage? Bring it down to 3 or 4 points.
Illustrate the purpose of each room for its highest and best use. Make sure everything's to scale, and that also means not too small, but it means appropriately sized. And then think about, of course, your micro markets or your psychographics, I think.
Psychographics.
Yeah. Sometimes in San Francisco, we don't know exactly who the buyer it is. It could be a gay couple, it could be a single guy, it could be a family. Sometimes houses just don't have it. So you've got to kind of like look at what this particular buyer, but we're more in Marin, we know it's going to be a family. If it's in Seacliff, we know it's going to be a family with like 3 and 6-year-olds. So think about exactly who we think our target market is. If we can get more granular, then punch it right down the middle of the green or fairway. How about those?
Those are fantastic. You are a font of knowledge and experience, and realtors need to know this. And I'm glad we've had so many people on today. I want to remind you again, we are recording, or we've recorded today's program. You'll get a link through Eventbrite tonight or this afternoon or this evening, if you want to go back and look at something. Jeff, if they want to contact Green Couch, just go to greencouch.com.
Yeah.
Is that
greencouch.com, info@greencouch.com. Yeah. Instagram, Green Couch, green_couch SF.
All right. So just remember Green Couch, put a .com after it. Right. You'll get contact information there, and somebody will help you. Listen, my friend, I want to thank you very much for joining us, for giving us this valuable time, but more importantly, giving us the experience and the wisdom, because it means a lot, and it's very helpful. It helps us sell properties, which are going to be harder to sell in the next couple of quarters. So I thank you.
No, it's a pleasure. I mean, it feels good. Like, I know you feel good about this too. Just be valuable. So it's a pleasure to kind of like, I hope I demonstrated something that people were able to take away, and appreciate all your great questions. It's always a good laugh and a fun time talking with you, Alf. My man.
The feeling is mutual, my friend. With that, ladies and gentlemen, it's 11 o'clock. We always promise to get people started on time and finished on time. We are adjourned. Again, Jeff, thank you. And we have another Guru program coming up on the 21st of this month. You'll be getting information pretty soon. So with that, we are adjourned. Happy selling. And Jeff, happy staging. Farewell.
Good guys. Bye. Bye-bye.